Hey guys, how's it going? And today we are doing well, just check out my armor. So as you can see, it's changing colors, all pretty and fancy. Um, and I'm going to show you guys the data pack that I made, and the link for it will be in the description. It's pretty simple. It only does like 30 commands or so, maybe 50. It's really lightweight though, and you can control like how the rates as well. And I'll show you how to mess with that. It's mainly just for a concept so you can look at it. So first thing that you need to know is to get the armor started and going, you have to do function RGB colon get armor, and then your armor will be put on and it'll start changing colors just like the RGB keyboard. And I'll go over how it works, but as you can see, the color that the armor is constantly changing, those two numbers at the front and the back. The color is just, changing the hex values that are displayed. And if I remove a piece of armor, this armor won't change colors, but my armor will still change colors. So the armors will continue changing colors until I remove everything, and then it will no longer change colors, just to make it so it stops. It doesn't do it to every player, it only does it to players who are wearing the armor. So yeah, that's kind of cool. I guess one use you could get out of it is just for cool server armor. You can mess with it, make it a little bit, like maybe make it so that the armor is cursive binding so they can't remove it. I don't know. I don't know why you would want this, but it's just, I just wanted to do it. It took me like an hour yesterday. But let's just get into how exactly it works. So there is only these functions. That's literally it. There's no main function either. So if I open them all, because I can just by hitting enter, let's go over the process. So getting the armor just puts the armor on you. So this is what, let's first talk about how you can mess with it. So get armor is the armor that it gives you. So you could somehow make this cursive binding if you know how to add that. Then rainbow is the actual thing that does it. So this is where you can control like how crazy it is. So I guess I'm going to give a quick epilepsy warning. Epilepsy warning. I'm going to increase, so changing this number for hue right here changes the step size. So making it 1 makes it as gradual as possible. You can see the colors very gradually changing, but if you change this number to a bigger number, it'll make the changes between the colors a little bit faster. So if I make it 60, we're gonna see some craziness. So now I am Mario Super Colors. And if I killed anybody, I'm sorry, but this is just Mario Super Colors. And obviously you can actually go, if you do 180, it'll literally swap between two colors, which is kind of interesting. So this will swap between red and blue. So this is incredible strobe armor. So you can kind of mess with this to get whatever you want. Now the other thing you can do is you can slow down the update speed of the armor, the refresh rate, because maybe like you want to make this less intensive, even though it already is very lightweight. You can make it a little bit less heavy by changing the number right here, which is how many ticks between the updates. So right now I'm doing it as fast as possible. Every tick there is an update, but I can change it to 2, and you'll see that the armor is going to go a little bit slower. So it's a little slower, and you can change this number to be something nice. So I'll show you, this is my favorite values, is to put 5 there and 20 here. And this gives you a somewhat good, but not, like, it's not too choppy, but it's not too bad. It goes through a lot of colors, and it's very lightweight because it skips a lot. And yeah, and this number here affects the step size. This number here affects the refresh rate. The refresh rate is going to be probably the biggest factor in terms of how laggy this thing is to your world, but you shouldn't notice. I mean, I don't notice any lag. I'm just talking about really minute changes. Things that matter if you're doing like a huge server in vanilla, which is what I do. But yeah, so it's pretty efficient. So now I'm going to get into the boring part, but if you want to, you can download the data pack, then you go into your worlds folder and you go into your data packs folder of the world, and you put the zip in here and you unzip it. I didn't name it conveniently. I'll probably add like a title card for like, that gives you a button that you can click that gets the armor. But yeah, so you'll see what's in there when it's there. But now I'm going to go into the technicals of how it works. So it's pretty simple. It uses basic kind of coding ideas. So with armor, I'll just show you kind of my thought process. So with armor, it uses a decimal value instead of a hex value for the color. So it says hex here, under color. This is a hexadecimal value, but it's actually decimal. So I need a way to convert RGB into decimal. So that's why I have RGB to dec. And to do that, you take whatever R value you have between 0 and 255. So how much red you have, how much green you have, and how much blue you have. And you basically make the red the top 8 bits, the green the middle 8 bits, and the blue the bottom 8 bits of the number. So you have like R, G, 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 B, 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 but then there's more like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you just combine the number together to make one big binary number that has this many bits in it. And to do that, you have to just multiply whatever number for red you have by 2 to the power of 16, and that will shift it all the way up. Then you multiply the green value by 2 to the power of 8, and then you add everything together. And that creates the binary value for decimal. So the next problem is, how can I get a value for, how can I make red, green, and blue kind of like pulsate? How can I make it change? Well, this was already figured out by people in something known as HSV, HVS, HSV, I think it's HSV to RGB, which is a way to convert hue, saturation, and I think variance or something, whatever the V is, into RGB, which is like a coding concept. But in our case, we don't care about saturation and we don't care about the V. So the calculation is pretty simple. It looks complicated, but I used it based off of a chart. So basically whatever number you choose for hue between 0 and 360 will determine the RGB value necessary. So if you have 0, let's actually just stop this armor. Tag ls remove. Well, okay, so I'll just explain it. So if you put a degree of 0, that gives you red. If you put a degree of, I believe it's 120, that gives you green. A degree of 240 gives you blue. And it basically just cycles between those values. So anywhere in between is going to be some hue that's between red and green, and some hue that's between green and blue. So that's just kind of how it works. And it gives you a nice transition phase. If you make the degrees between them, the hue degrees, very small, then you'll have a very gradual transition because you're slowly going from red to green. So the red turns orange, then yellow, then it gets to green, just like here. And then it goes green, then it turns kind of like a light blue aqua, then it gets to blue, and then blue kind of turns like a purple, and then it gets to red. So this kind of transition is very gradual. And I just had a chart that I worked off of and found pretty much the optimal least command method for setting up what values need to go where. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So then the rainbow first does, it puts a value on hue, then it converts the hue to the RGB values, then it converts the RGB values to the decimal values, and then, well, this is just to make sure that you have the armor on. Then it takes that decimal value and puts it on the color, and that's it. So we go create increment hue, convert hue to RGB, convert RGB to decimal, then put decimal on the armor color. And then once it gets past 360, it resets to 0. And that's pretty much it. There's not much more to this pack. It was pretty simple. If you guys thought it was interesting or cool, go ahead and give it a try, download it, or leave a like on the video, and consider subscribing. I'm going to have more really useful data packs. You can probably see there's a lot of new stuff behind me that might interest you in my command world that I've been working on recently. So those are more official data packs that will be coming out as part of the Mapmaker's Toolbox. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.